Hey Raiders, Jacko here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. So first of all, I want to apologize for a couple things. First of all, I haven't had consistent videos in the last couple weeks, and I'm sorry about that. Life has done what life does and thrown a wrench in the works. I'm getting better on it. We should be back to consistent videos from here on out. The second is, for some reason, my recording software absolutely refuses to do my face cam currently. Fighting with it, just don't have the time before this video goes live to get it fixed. It should be fixed by the next time. So you get the raid screen, but not my pretty face. Anyways, so today on this Raid Shadow Legends video, we are going to go ahead and look into the event that just dropped this past day or so, and that is a Fragment Fusion event. So if we come into our portal, we go to Fragment Summons, we go all the way down and find the new guy. He's here somewhere. And I'm looking at all the rares instead of the epics. There he is. Ruel the Huntmaster. So we'll go ahead and pop into him. So here is our Fragment Fusion. So a Fragment Fusion is a little bit easier than the normal Fusion because you're just looking to hit your goals in the different events so that you get enough fragments to get this guy, Ruel the Huntmaster. And from everything I've seen, he is going to be an utter badass. It's well worth it if you're not burned out on all the other fragment events we have, and you're got the resources saved up to go for him. He's going to be an asset to many teams. So let's look at his kit and see why we're going to go for him. So on his A1, we have Vile Arrows. Attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a 60% decreased a 60% chance of placing a decreased defense debuff for 2 turns, and transfers a random debuff from this champion to the target if the target is under a hex debuff. Okay, that's wonderful. Books up to 75% chance to place that decreased defense. That's actually really good. It is enough that you might be able to get away with him as your primary debuffer for the decreased defense, if you can book him out. On his A2, we've got Unleash the Hunt. Attacks all enemies. Places an extra hit on enemies under hex debuffs. Will ignore 25% of each target's defense if there are 4 or more enemies under hex debuffs. So if you've managed to hex the entire team, you'll also be ignoring 25% defense on the target. This looks like it's going to hit really hard, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown. So we like that, especially since hex itself increases the damage done to that person, to whoever's under the hex debuff. On our A3 here, we've got Stalk Prey. Places a 50% increased accuracy buff on all allies for 2 turns. Then places a hex debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. Also places a perfect veil buff on this champion for 2 turns and fills this champion's turn meter by 50%. That's huge, and it's only 2 books to get it down to a 4-turn cooldown. So the increased accuracy is going to make everything else stick for the rest of your party. All your debuffs are going to be that much easier to land. The hex debuff on all the enemies cycles into his reducing defense when he hits them with the big AoE, and transferring random debuffs. This is a really nice ability. All in all, I'm liking this guy so far. On his passive, we've got Marked Quarry. Increases the speed of enemies, or decreases the speed of enemies under hex debuff by 5% and decreases the resistance of those enemies by 10%. Nice. After you get that big A3 off and hex everybody up, they're going to be slower, they're going to be easier for other debuffs to land on. Very nice. Also increases the damage enemies under hex debuff receive by 10% and decreases the value of heals they receive by 30%. More damage, making them squishier. Again, all adding up. Really nice. These effects do not stack if there are multiple rules. That's not overly surprising. That is pretty much on everybody who has really nice things. And then Aura increases ally crit rate in all battles by 25%. So if you wanted, you could actually build a team around the Huntmaster here and only build them up to 80% crit rate with him as your Aura lead. And that would work out, give you that 100% crit rate you're looking for and everything. So really nice. I would say he's well worth trying to get. So let's go ahead and take a look at how hard that's going to be. Here we are, Fragment Summon. So Ruel the Huntmaster. Legendary, attack, spirit, Dark Elves. Like, Dark Elves need another legendary. Anyways, so your fragments are going to come from events, as they normally are. Dungeon Divers, Artifact Enhancement, Champion Training, more Dungeon Divers, more Artifact Enhancement, Summon Rush, Dragon Tournament, Classic Arena Takedown, Champion Chase Tournament, Fire Knight Tournament, Ice Golem Tournament, Champion Training, another Champion Training Tournament, holy carp, Classic Arena Takedown 2, and Spider Tournament. So that's a champion, 15 fragments from one Champion Training event, another 15 from a Champion Chase Tournament, and another 15 from another Champion Training. We've only got 2 trainings, Champion Chase. Sorry, got a little bit confused there. So what are the big hurdles? So your big hurdles are going to be the Champion Training and the Champion Training events, both the event and the tournament, just because their point numbers are massive to get the fragments. The current one, Champion Training event, is up here. Black screen doesn't help us. Thank you. And to get that last 5, you're at 8250. Not as high as the last event for Brogni, but still really high. You're going to have to really push for that. And we can assume that the Champion Training event is going to be the same way, that it's going to be a lot of push to get there. Your other 2 are your Summon Rush for 25 fragments and your Champion Chase Tournament for 15 fragments. So the first one that's going to come up is the Champion Chase Tournament. And we're going to see that this weekend, starting up probably tomorrow from the looks of it. Well, today when this video goes live. So what we really need to do is find out how many fragments we've got here. So we've got 5, 10, 25, 30, 35, 50, 60, 65, 70, 85, 90, 95... 110, 120 fragments possible. That means you can miss 20 fragments all told. So you're going to have to look at those 4 big ones. So the 2 Champion Trainings, the Summon Rush, and the Champion Chase Tournaments. Can you get high enough on all of those to only miss 20 fragments? If you've banked your energy, or well, not energy, but if you banked your gems like I have, if you've banked your money like I have, more than I should have, honestly, on both accounts, then if you have the physical time to put into it, it is definitely worth going for Ruel. Even if he can't help you right now, Ruel, sorry. Even if he can't help you right now, he's very likely to be able to help you in the future. But I think with all those hexing, and the fact that hexing seems to be a new thing they're coming out with, that you're going to find it to be a valuable investment in your time and energy. I think he will be a great AoE damage dealer just in general. Is he going to work in everything? No, you're not going to take him into Clan Boss. He might be okay in Arena, depending on how hard that A2 actually hits. But he really has to set that A2 up with his A1, unless you've got the only other hexer in the game, Thea the Two-Main Angel, over here in Knight's Revenant. Again, another epic. So if you've got another hexer on board, he could be good in Arena. If you don't, it's too much setup time. He's really not worthwhile for Arena. However, he could be very, very useful in Dungeons. In terms of book viability, he's only looking at 4, 9... 10, 11 books, which is nice and cheap, unlike, say, Iron Brago, who took me 16 or 18 books to get booked. So, as a legendary, he's going to be easier to book, and he really only needs probably the 2 books in Stalk Prey to really be an effective champion. So, can you run him with 0 books? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to be viable in endgame with no books. However, I think he's going to take very few books, if you're lucky, to become viable. If you're not lucky, you're looking at 11 books. You got to weigh that, whether or not you like it. So I'm going to go for him. I'm going to make the push, see what I can do about getting those 100 fragments to get him. Aesthetically wise, he is a very interesting looking Dark Elf. He's got a very obvious insect motif going on here. Not only does he have the insects whether they're butterflies, moths, or something else fluttering around him, but he's got his own wings. I'm not sure how that comes into a Huntmaster situation, but I guess they already took Stag for Stag Knight, so this is what they came up with instead. Greaves and Sabatons are great. He's got no knee protection, though, which is very silly, so he's going to lose his knees very quickly in a fight. That's a very painful joint to have go out from under you, and pretty much makes you incapable of continuing the fight. If you happen to be on the other side of it, go for the knees. You're going to take your opponent out nice and quick. He does have upper leg armor, which is nice. He's got what looks like essentially leather or something like that as a bit of a drape here, as well as covering his stomach. And he does have a bit, actually he does not have a bit of a kidney belt. He just has a wide belt to carry, apparently, nothing. Apparently, I'm guessing that his drape attaches to it, so that's fine. He's got very light armor covering his internal organs here, which is not good. However, he's got very nice heavy armor on the upper side. Now, these little spikes here that you see on the bottom of that upper armor, those are going to be painful. As he bends, as he moves, those are going to stab into his gut constantly. Armor bites suck. Everybody gets them. These are going to be armor wounds. They're going to suck even that much more. In terms of his arm protection, on the arm that holds his bow, the arm that's going to be out in front of him, he's got no protection. That seems kind of silly. However, he does have hand protection on the bow itself, so maybe he can use it to block a few blows. On his arrow arm, he's actually got a nice vambrace. It's got a point to try and cover the elbow, though I don't think it's going to be very effective. And he's actually got some hand covering, so his arrow arm is actually nicely armored. Up to his pauldrons, they are fantasy as most other things. However, somehow they have them far enough out and far enough down that he's probably not going to stab himself in the face. I'm actually kind of surprised with the giant spikes. They are fitted to his shoulder pretty nice, so as bad as pauldrons get in this game, these are not on the terrible side of things. They're not on the good side of things either, but they're not terrible. For the helm, he's got this very strange, shiny, insect-like thing going on with mandibles and pointy horns, multiple, 3 sets of horns? Or is that 2 sets of horns and 2 sets of feelers, like eye stalks? You be the judge on that. Tell me what you think. Are those eye stalks the front ones, or are they another set of horns? Since he's a ranged character, he's not going to have a whole lot of trouble dealing with that massive display on top of his head during a fight. If they get that close to him, he's probably already going to be dead, since we don't see any backup weapons. So all he's got is to try and stab them with his arrows. A terrible, terrible choice in melee. However, he's one of the best armored archers that we've seen in this game so far, so that's something going for him. I mean, he's not wearing lingerie or club wear like most of the archers in the game so far. So we're actually going to bump him up a little bit. He's got these interesting wings, or part of a cloak. I'm guessing because of the fur and everything on the top portion, that it's actually part of a cloak, that these are not attached to him as functional wings. So he really is going for that insect look. And with that insect look, he nails it spot on. So all in all, I'm going to give Ruel the Huntmaster here an overall armor aesthetic of 3 gourds. Now, the 3 gourds is because he doesn't have knee protection, he doesn't cover his internal organs, and those pauldrons are going to get in his way. He also doesn't cover his elbows at all. So all of these really juicy parts of his anatomy to attack are unarmored. However, he does have armor on, which beats out a lot of people. Moving to the weapon itself, this is a very strange bone bow. Very strange bone bow. It's got these pincers here, which are all decoration. Maybe he could use it as a melee weapon if they're strong enough, but honestly, I think it's going to get in his way of firing. He doesn't know how to hold the arrow because, well, when it comes right down to it, none of the archers know how to hold an arrow on this. And the protection on his hand here is directly getting in the way of his shot. So, he needs to go back to hit the training field to figure out how to use the bow. but I don't think it would be all that effective. The rest of the bow is just fine, though. All of this can be all decorational. The spikes on the end can be decorational, as long as he can draw. He can string the bow, which shouldn't be a problem with these little hooks back here. I assume that's where he's going to put the bow line. It's going to be fine. So all in all, for his weapons, we're going to go ahead and give him an aesthetic of 3 gourds. Again, I don't think it's going to be effective with everything around the hand. I just don't believe it. Bad attitude. Insects are creepy. What can you say? I mean, they are. They're the object of utilization for many sci-fi movies, for the aliens that come after you, because they're unnatural to us as, breathing mammals on the planet Earth. Insects are different. They're strange. As such, this whole motif is going to move him from a regular combatant into something that's strange and unusual. Just that in and of itself is going to increase his bad attitude. The fact that he's actually somewhat armored for an archer is also going to increase his bad attitude, in my opinion. It means that he knows what he's getting himself into. He fully expects people to come up on him and try to attack him in melee, which means he's probably trained for that eventuality, which makes him that much more dangerous. So, with the otherness of being an insect and the fact that he seems to have taken the combat into account, I'm going to go ahead and give the Huntmaster here a bad attitude of 4 gourds. I think he's got it down. Overall, as a pure aesthetic, the insect thing is creepy, but it's an interesting way to do it. It's very much, I don't know, your fantasy Chitin armor that you can find in just about anything, from Skyrim to Ark to all those things. So I like the aesthetic overall. I'm going to give him an overall aesthetic of 4 gourds on this. The cloud of insects around him, that's a little creepy. That's not something I would go for personally. I think it would be very irritating. But it's probably worked for him in the past, so he keeps it as a methodology for his combat. So all in all, aesthetically, I do find the Huntmaster here pleasing. So there you have it. Do you want to go for the Huntmaster in this event? I'm going to go for him. I'm going to see what I can do about picking that up, even if he just hangs out in my vault until I can get enough legendary books to deal with him, which will be a while because I just got Sale of the Drakes in my login bonuses. Then so be it. I've got the resources to do it. You need to make the decision on whether or not you have the resources to do it. And remember, you can only miss 20 fragments all told. If for any reason you're going to miss one of those big events completely, then just don't waste your resources. Don't go for him. It's better off to hoard your resources at this point than go for him. I have hoarded my resources way too much in the past few months, so I'm going to go for him and put another legendary in my stables of champions. Let me know what you're going to do down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Huntmaster as well, see what you think about him. Do you like that insect aspect to him? That very other armor that he decided to wear? Otherwise, as always, please remember to like, subscribe, and to toll that bell so that you're always aware of what's going on the channel here. And I'll see you next time on Jacko's Raider Rants.